people that should be taking this plan on is the real estate agents. Morning everybody, welcome to the Texas Real Estate Show, and here we are today. We're going to talk about the Kamala Harris housing plan and what it could possibly look like, and we're going to go through some points. There's 9 points to the plan, and first of all, she's calling for new construction in the cities. It's going to offer tax incentives to building starter homes. She's going to tackle corporate rent gouging, which I think is a definite problem these days. It promises $25,000 down payment assistance, and how is that going to be put together? It's going to also provide access to better loan rates. It could also level the playing field. It could promote overall economic stability amongst housing and also provide peace of mind for people that want to buy a house. It could also address home ownership disparities, to be perfectly honest, between low-income people and people that are more blessed. So what we're going to do is to basically go through these items sort of one by one and address them. And I'm going to speak to Kay about them to basically see, what her opinion is and what my opinion is. So first of all, let's talk about new construction. I think new construction, I think it's a good idea to build new homes, but I do think that there's a lot of new construction companies that actually gouge a lot of first-time home buyers, and I think they need to be controlled somewhat, especially if they're taking, government money to help them build some of these subdivisions. But there are problems with a lot of new home builders. I do think we need to build new construction homes, but I really think that there's a lot of builders out there that need, a little bit of controlling. What's your feeling on that, Kay?
I think it would be good, because of the housing shortage that we do have. I think, getting people into some new builds and getting people to actually build new homes is good. So, I personally, I think that'll be great for them. But I think it would also be good if you just work on the houses that are already kind of there, that might be in decent condition, but they just need to be fixed up a little bit, because I know there's a lot of those as well.
Right,
so.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing to do is to offer, I think, yes, there's calls for new construction, but I think the best way to offer and for new construction homes to be built is to perhaps offer tax incentives to building starter homes for people. That's what I would rather see. I would rather see tax incentives offered to the builders and offered to even redeveloping lower income areas and building starter homes. And that we've got a lot of them areas in Houston that have started, and they are redevelopment areas, and it's worked very, very well. I really want to talk on corporate rent gouging. Corporate rent gouging has been a real problem here in Houston. We've had some corporate rent gouging has gone up $250, $300 a month, which I think is just terrible. I really think, and I'm all for, and I would have no disagreements at all. California's taken a bit of a hit because they say the rent controls, but I think their rent controls are 3 and 5% per year. But to me, I think if your rent hasn't been increased for 3 years, then I think you should be able to increase it more and backdate that increase if you feel it necessary. But as for, I think a 3 to 5% increase per year, I think is fair. I know it's tough on some landlords when your insurance has gone up, and your taxes have come down. But I even think that perhaps one of the answers could be is for the local cities to reduce the taxes if it's a rental property, because you are providing housing for people, and unfortunately, if it's a rental property, you don't get the same privileges as if it's a homestead property regarding property taxes. Your property taxes, I believe, can go up 10%, maximum of 10%. If it's if it's a homestead property, but if it's a rental property, there's no limits to what it can go up to. So I think that's a way how you could help investors. I don't think there's anything wrong with investment properties. My only problem is multi-level, multi-marketing properties, as in multinational properties that might buy 5,000 properties in one area, and then they control the rent because they control that many properties, and it's so difficult to difficult to control that. It's very difficult. What's your feeling on that? How can you control that? I mean, one of the things that was proposed was that they maximise it to maybe 100 in an area, which to me is a much better number.
Yeah, I think that's more fair. And then the big thing that I think about too is that, like you said, it'll stop them from being able to do price fixing. Essentially, there won't be any price fixing. Well, they're trying to prevent price fixing, like you said, so that the investors aren't buying up, 3 blocks of,
But that's
the land.
unfortunately what the investors do. They specifically want to buy 3 blocks or 4 blocks or an area so they can control the area.
Yeah, but so that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to, like you said, with what you were saying, they're trying to stop them from doing that, from purchasing so many homes in bulk, and they're trying to get them to do,
Right.
fair.
And then the other thing I want to address is this $25,000 down payment assistance that Kamala is proposing. I've got some ideas that are a little bit different with this. I think to give somebody $25,000 as a down payment, I think is a great idea. I think it should be open to everybody, regardless what your income level is. But I think whenever you come to sell that house, you should have to pay that $25,000 back, and I think it's okay sort of maybe giving it to somebody at a very low rate, maybe even 1%, or even giving them more than 25,000, to be perfectly honest, because you've got to keep that housing market going. And I think that I disagree completely with doing down payment assistance and then forgiving that $25,000 after 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. I think that is totally and utterly wrong. I think it's giving taxpayer money away. What I think should happen is that $25,000 should stay with the property until you sell the property, and then at that time you should pay the government back. Whether you pay interest, whether you don't pay interest, that's perfectly, up to how they feel and see fit. I would see both ways, as long as it's a low interest rate, maybe even 1%, which is less than inflation. But I think it's a way how you could easily start to move the market, because at the end of the day, if you don't put anything into it, you ain't going to get anything out of it. You learn that through life, and you learn it through business. It took me, I can tell you, a hard-earned, making a lot of sacrifices. I think it took me like 15 months, 18 months before I bought my first house. And it was a lot of hard work and a lot of struggle. And so how would you feel, Kay, if somebody said to you, okay, we're going to give you $25,000 to buy a house? I mean, I do think there should be criteria, which are basically, have you paid your rent on time for 2 years, or whatever that is? Have you paid your rent on time for 2 years? What other things would you put into that?
Well, for her plan, that's basically what she said. She said, working families, as long as they pay their rent on time for 2 years, and you're purchasing your first home. So I think it's good because I think it's a good first time home buyers assistance program because a lot of people don't have that to where they have the money to purchase a first time home. They don't, and a lot of people also don't know where to start. So I think overall it's a good plan. I think, having it to where, like you said, the loan stays with the house is cool because that way, the money can essentially, the house can be passed down from generation to generation if they
Right.
decide to keep the house. So instead of, maybe having it for a few years and then, selling it or, it limits, like hopefully it won't get foreclosed on and things like that. So I think overall it does seem like a good plan.
About different types of property. I mean, how would you feel about with all the problems that condominiums have got at the moment? How would you feel about that? About being used for a condominium, or do you think it should just be for single family homes?
I think it's whatever the person wants to purchase, but I think that it should be a certain amount. If you're purchasing a condo, and because the loan is like, okay, $25,000 for up to a $500,000 home. I think if you're purchasing a condo, I don't think that you should get $25,000, like $25,000 payment assistance if your condo is $150,000. I think maybe $10,000 or something along those lines.
But
Be more
with the
conservative
condo,
with
you've
it.
got HOA fees, and you understand that's the problem with condos. They've got a lot of problems at the moment. Um, and a lot of the prices are going up on the insurance for condos.
Yeah, but you're not. I mean, the to me, the assistance isn't going to the fees that you're gonna have to pay once you live in the house. It's specifically
Well,
for you.
that's their responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
I really feel that, you know, I will prefer it to go to single family homes, um, only because the increase in single family homes I feel is more. But what, and we are, the reason why Kamala Harris used the the 3 million home number is it's predicted that we are 3 million homes short throughout the country, before we would see a stabilisation. And if she can pull this one off, I think it would be absolutely fabulous for the country. A lot of business people have actually stepped up and said, what a great idea this is. Let's talk about loan rates. Okay, I can't see personally how this would affect loan rates, because the banks control the loan rates with the Fed. So I would be interested to see how this could get better loan rates. To me, the biggest challenge for somebody buying a house is the down payment and the closing costs. I would rather see, I think the loan rate should sort of, help themselves, and be more predictable. But at the same time, I do feel that what needs to happen is there should be more government help, perhaps through down payment assistance and even money with closing costs, because them are the big things that stop people purchasing a house. And the other part that I really think needs to happen, what I think it needs to be, what happens if somebody, these are one of the things that worries me about this down payment assistance. If somebody buys a house, they get $25,000 as down payment assistance, and then they decide that they're going to sell that house, all right, and they want to rent that house, and they're going to basically rent it out. Okay, they're going to rent it out, and they're going to make it an investment property, and they're going to buy a new property. That's what my worry is. To me, at that point, what needs to happen is, they need to pay that $25,000 back. As soon as that's changed into an investment property, that $25,000 should be paid back. Or, that investment property should be refinanced. Because to me, it should be for first-time home buyers. And a first-time home buyer, to be perfectly honest, normally is somebody that's considered that hasn't owned their own house or been on a deed for 3 years. How do you feel about the comment when she said it could level the playing field? I didn't quite know what she meant by that.
I think realistically, I think that leveling the playing field is because most people that are struggling with purchasing houses and things like that are typically millennials right now, people between the ages of 29 and 45, I think are the people who really can't afford to purchase their own house. That's why renting is so high right now. There are more renters now than there are homeowners currently. And people are saying it's cheaper to rent in some areas. So I think that's what she means by leveling the playing field, to where it'll kind of foster more ingenuity, foster more people to actually purchase homes, having more people, being able to purchase a house rather than, because like we talked about earlier, it's all corporate investors right now that have the
It's the corporate investors that made the best of the the foreclosure crisis in 2008.
Yeah, and
That's
so
what started, and then the home flippers came in, and they added to the problem.
yeah, so that's regular everyday people who aren't even thinking about turning their home into an investment property. Just people who are like, I really just want to purchase a house. I want the actual American dream, and I want to live in a house. I don't want to flip it. I don't want to, turn into a house. I want a house.
See, them are the people that we should really be helping with them ideals. They want to stay in the house. They intend to live there for a time.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of first-time home buyers are, looking for that. But I think that's why she focused on saying, working families.
Do you know what I think the backside of this is, the detriment to this plan? When you go to the west side of Houston, the amount of apartments that they are building is unbelievable. When you go along West Park Tollway and I-10, I mean, these are brand new apartments. We could be in a position when them apartments end up being empty if this really takes off. And my son stays in an apartment over that way, and he really, I think he would like to buy. He's asked Daddy to buy, and Daddy said no, because I want him to buy his own house. And I think the whole peace of mind, to me, the peace of mind is basically to know that you've got the right decision and you can pay your bills. That's the peace of mind to me. When somebody says, have you got peace of mind? I just want to know that I can pay my bills, without worrying about it too much. But I think what happens in America a lot is everybody wants to keep up with the Joneses, and budgeting is not treated as it is in Europe, perhaps, or many countries. It's consumerism, to be perfectly honest, and I think that's really what puts us, at the back. And the other thing that I really think this program could help is the disparities in home ownership between different incomes, different nationalities. I really do. I think this program is probably one of the best things, if it comes off, that could ever happen to America. I really do, because it would help the housing market. Not just that I'm a real estate agent, but I feel there has been disparities in the real estate market since about 2005. And I think the people that should really be educating the people, if this program comes off, I really think the people that should be taking this plan on is the real estate agents. I think the real estate agents should be passing educated knowledge on how this program works. And the reason why I do that is because my experiences with some builders in the past is there's no representation. The builders represent themselves, but I do think the real estate agents are the ones that should be very, very educated in whatever this plan is. Real estate agents through brokerages that are licensed are the ones that should genuinely head this plan and really support it to promote ownership, because that's what real estate agents are here for.
And it'll make, it'll give you guys some new buyers and make you make more money too.
To me, it's not about the money, okay? Money's important, but to me, it's about having educated buyers, passing on good information, passing on quality information, explaining to them how the process would work. For example, okay, you've got a $25,000 down payment assistance, but you're going to have to pay it back at some time. And if you keep the house and say it goes to the next of kin, if you pass, then it's still going to have to be paid back. So, that's how I see it. I think that, I really think just to give $25,000 away, I would even, give away a little bit more, to be perfectly honest. Maybe $25,000 as a down payment and even $10,000 towards your closing costs. But you'd still have to pay that $35,000 back at some time. And you could pay it back beforehand if you wanted to. You could pay it back gradually. But I think on the whole, you and me have looked at the plan and we've thought it's great, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
And all I can say is, Mr. Trump, where's your plan? Are you working it out? Are you working it out as you go along? So, anything else you want to bring up, Kay? Okay, so that's what we think is about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Kamala Harris real estate plan. This is the Texas Real Estate Show. Please tune in and see us. We'd love to hear more from you. If you have any comments on how you think the plan should go together, please post your comments in the chat, and we'd love to hear from you. So we'd like to thank Kay for her time this week on putting the show together. My name's Steve Williams with Century 21 Olympian, and thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, like, and turn on notifications. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a thumbs up. Okay, ta-da for now. See you later. Stay healthy.